I don't need women. It's a benefit to my life. Dating is a benefit, but I'm okay with that. And so that was a huge, it gave me happiness. It gave me happiness when everything I wanted in life was not there. Money, relationships, confidence, women, didn't have any of that. And so weed was that thing that made me feel like I was okay. And like life was good. And at one point I was down $600. Buy-in was like 50 bucks. And I was down $600. And I just went, dude, I'm like, dude, this is life. Like, this is what life is about. Not sitting at a poker table trying to win 60 bucks. So I'm free.
So true. Like you can just, if you just have muscle or you're just fit, like they're just like, oh, it's a fit guy. They're not like analyzing your body weight percentage or any of that.
That never comes. Like you gotta face some shit when you quit. Stop drinking, stop watching porn, stop every bad behavior I thought like I knew at that time was a bad behavior. I stopped. I started meditating every day. Fear can be a great motivator. To be honest, like people want to be like, I want to quit when I'm inspired and I feel like my life's just gonna go.
Welcome to the Willpower Podcast. All right, Joel. So tell me about your experience dating, like your whole timeline. Tell me about it.
Yeah, man. I grew up in Wisconsin, which is a very small, Monroe, Wisconsin, to be specific. So a very small town. I grew up Catholic as well. So, just when I'm looking back at my past, I was never exposed to sexuality, was never talked about. It was a very taboo thing, right? Like anything revolving sex was like kind of deemed as like evil unless you're married and all that stuff. So I grew up with like a lot of sexual shame and just unawareness of it. My family, they weren't very, very affectionate. So not a lot of, I never saw my parents like hold hands or like make out or like, for all we knew, like they never had sex. They were just like celibate parents or whatever. So essentially, it's something I always craved to have a dating life. And it always felt like a piece of me was missing. Looking forward, and we'll dive into this later, is like, I see now, like, kind of the whole I was complete as is, but it was still something that was missing. So, in middle school, started turning to porn and all that stuff, or corn for, monetary purposes here. Basically, what happened was I didn't realize how much that was like kind of destroying my desire to connect with women. So in high school, I always had girlfriends, like I was in sports and stuff. So I was connected with, I guess, like the more attractive women that went to our school. But I didn't realize that, like, as a guy, you had to be the one to take initiative. You had to be the one to go up and tell them. I was always waiting for them to like say, hey, I like you, Joel. And what I found out later is that a lot did, but because I never made a move, I would always just get friend zoned. And so that kind of became my story. Like, I'm just the guy that gets friend zoned. Like, I hang out with hot girls, but I get, I'm just their friend, and kind of did, ate away at me. So got into college. We both went to UW-Madison, as we were talking before, which was freaking awesome. And yeah, I thought I was going to go to college, top shot, get laid a bunch. And just, I just still didn't know how to attract women. So it was always something, it was a huge pain point. And because of that, I started turning more to drugs, alcohol. I was partying a lot, almost like 5 days a week. Really got into weed. That was my main kind of addiction, I would say. Afterwards, I dropped out because I wanted to pursue a career in music. And I'm like, okay, that's going to solve the problem. Become famous DJ, and all of a sudden women will be everywhere. Didn't work. So got deeper into my addiction, and got sober in 2016. And at that moment, I realized, okay, like sobriety is going to be my secret to finding a girlfriend, right? I'm gonna get sober. I'm gonna get super healthy. Went hard monk mode, working out all the time, clean up the diet. Nothing. Still didn't. Thought, was just hoping the law of attraction would just bring them to me. And I found actually, on a couple dates, like, oh, the more I talk about getting clean and living a healthy life, the less they are interested, right? And you probably hear, I think a lot of guys make this mistake, is they're like, I'm going to tell them all about my self-improvement journey. And girls don't care about that, to be honest. Like, they care in the sense that they want you to be happy, like successful and happy, but it's not, they're not going to be on the sideline, like cheering for you when you are like, yeah, I'm going to the gym at 4 a.m. Right. So that didn't work. And then in 2021, I started my cold approach journey and started, I remember my first cold approach. I was like in Whole Foods, and there was like a girl that was working there that I thought was super hot. And I just remember like watching her for like an hour, trying to build up the courage. I was like watching YouTube videos, like why you should approach and why it's so important. And I finally did. And I came at her looking like the back and the side, and she's like, what do you want? And it was just, the worst thing the worst approach maybe that I've had in my life, but it got the wheel spinning. It got, I faced that fear. I overcame that hurdle. And from then on, I started approaching just regularly and got a coach and went on the whole journey until today.
And so it sounds like to me you were going through these different phases of like coming at the problem from like a roundabout way. Like, oh, I'm gonna
Oh, totally.
clean up my life and do this, or I'm gonna go to college and then I'll get girls. And then it took until finally you were like, okay, let me actually go directly for like I want to get better with women. Let me practice that specifically.
Exactly. I was almost coming at it from a woman's perspective, like covertly. Women are covert, men are overt. And I was trying to covertly, find my way into a relationship. And yeah, just doesn't work. It's not what women are attracted to.
So what did it take to get past those like that like internal that like programming that you grew up with? How did you like learn more about yourself, understand those parts of yourself that you kind of were shut off to?
Yeah, great question, man. I think, what I always tell guys I coach is it's about experience. And this is what my mentor tells me as well. I think getting a mentor, some sort of external support is really important, and it helps with the question you just asked, because when you have someone that you respect and you trust that is able to kind of be that figure for you that you didn't have as a kid, and they tell you, hey, man, it's okay to want to get laid. It's okay to want to date around and meet a lot of people and stuff like that. It takes away that like kind of stigma around it. So for me, it was just getting experience. It was dating, going on lots of dates, meeting lots of different kinds of women, facing a lot of rejection, of course, just kind of the whole dating experience. And I just remember like, yeah, first time I got laid, I was like 27, and it just was like, okay, we had sex. She went home, and like God didn't like shoot a lightning bolt at me. I can get hit by a car by like karma for having sex with someone so it just kind of started to reprogram my mind that like, this is okay. This is like nothing evil. And, a lot of the fear too was like, I was going to be bad at it. Right. It was fine. Like there was nothing wrong about it. So again, like what we tell guys is like, get that experience, get those reps under your belt. And then over time, your brain will kind of calibrate to where you currently are in your experience. I think as well, something that really helped me was support groups. So there's recovery support groups around relationships and sex and stuff. I can't say them by name because there's like privacy kind of things, like we just don't want to use the names. But if you graduated first grade, you can probably put two to two together. Like just search like relationship recovery support groups, like stuff like that, and you'll see exactly what comes up. So those are really helpful too in kind of looking at my own patterns around relationships. So I had an adoption when I was adopted when I was 3 months old. So I had a lot of wounding around women, abandonment issues. So I found too that for me, one of my patterns was that when I would meet a girl that I really liked, I got really attached. I got that one-itis very, very hard. And so a lot of my work over the last 4 years has been learning how to be less how to be less impressed with women, how to see them just as they are, take them off the pedestal, work on that neediness that I have to connect and, be, have them be my savior for, my life and stuff like that. And then just kind of realizing, yeah, like I don't need women. It's a benefit to my life. Dating's a benefit, but I'm okay without. And so that was a huge, huge help for sure.
Right. Learning that, yeah, you can like, it's that fear of abandonment of like, oh, what happens if she leaves? And yeah, I definitely have that. I had one experience in college where I was single at the time, and I had this just like clear thought that like stuck with me in the morning. I was going to work and I went into the bathroom and I was just like, I'm pretty good. I'm doing all right.
Nice. Oh yeah.
And it was like, I'm single and I don't have a partner I'm seeing all the time, and I'm good. And I think that kind of
Awesome.
stuck with me to where I didn't ever feel the need to like, I don't need a relationship. Like you were saying,
Right.
I'm in a relationship now, but it wasn't because I needed that or I needed someone to like, be with me all the time.
What was that work for you? How did you get to that point for yourself?
I think so for me, I like that was early on, and I've just had periods of having girlfriends and then also being single. Like I was single for the 2 years before my current relationship. So I was always okay with that. I definitely have like a pretty strong fear of rejection.
Okay.
And that's in general. That's not even like just with cold approach. It's like if with cold approach or with like instigating something beyond that or like going for a kiss, that kind of thing, I'm like just terrified of rejection at every step. Even with
Okay.
other people, with like random people, like if I'm asking for something, there's always that like, oh fuck, I might get rejected
Mm,
on this ask. So I think for me, it's been a lot of that work.
okay.
And I actually really like what you said about experience because I think so many of us want to like go to a workshop and then have a transformation and then we're fixed.
Mm,
Everything's back to
yep.
perfect. I was listening to
Tony
a pod.
Robbins method.
Yeah, I was listening
Let's
to
get
a,
hyped for 3 days and then,
and then
oh my
have
God.
like 2 days where your life has changed and then everything goes
Yeah.
back. I was listening to a podcast yesterday and he was talking about how we have these expectations for emotional change to occur like instantly when these
Okay.
things take so long for us to learn. Like they just take a while. And
Yes.
I think getting experience and giving yourself the patience and just accepting like these things will change in me, but I need to just
Mhm.
wait a little bit. It's going to take some time. It's going to take experience. I have to emotionally learn this thing again.
Totally, man. And in today's world where there's so much instant gratification, I think that's makes it as another layer of challenge where people want to get that fix really quick.
Mhm.
And it's funny when you look back, it's like, okay, I've been really working on my dating for 4 years, which is really not a lot of time. That's like
Mhm.
what from ages like 8 to 12 in terms of like, so if you look back, like, oh, from 8 to 12, like that was like, that happened in a flash, right? So I think long term, when we look back on our lives, we'll be like, okay, like, I spent 6, 7 years working on myself really deeply. That was nothing. But in
Yeah.
the moment, it feels really intense and like it's never going to end. So I think, yeah, not giving up and just being persistent is a secret to success in today's day and age.
Yeah, those for sure. And then when you compare it to the rest of your life, like you were saying, like if you're in your head right now, you're like, okay, it's going to take me 4 years to get my shit together and learn how to date women and find a good partner for the rest of my life. Okay, now you have 50, 60 years where that's going to pay dividends.
Oh, yes.
Like
I love
spending
that.
those
Yeah.
couple of years is going to, now you're in a state where you're able to do whatever you need to do and connect with someone deeper and you
Yes.
get that for the rest of your life. So I think it's a
Amen.
great decision for guys to go through. What was like the tipping point for you where you were like, okay, I actually need to like get a coach and do this approach, all that?
God, that's a great question, man. I think I started 20, I was 27. Okay, here's what it was. Okay, so I dropped out of school to pursue music. So I was DJing and I was producing music. I still do occasionally, but that was my dream. I was like, dude, I'm gonna freaking yeah, travel the world, play at Ultra, all that stuff. And I got a coach for my music, and he was like, he's really high up in the echelon of DJing and producers. Like he's signed with like Armin van Buuren, like W&W, like he's a big name in the space. And I remember he's like, one of our sessions, he's like, hey Joel, what do you want from your career in music? And I said, oh man, I want to like travel the world, DJ, blah blah blah. And he's like, oh man, you should probably find something else. I've been signed to the top record labels in the world since 2012 and I have to coach. And he just kind of burst that bubble for me. I went, no, because he was my savior. Like we were collabing on a song. Like I might have gotten released to a big label. And I just realized that's not going to do anything. Like my career will not take off even one iota. And I went, fuck, dude. So my whole dream of being rich, famous, successful DJ and dating beautiful women just ended in that moment. And I just remembered kind of, we're survival creatures. So I went, okay, what do I got to do next? What's my next step? And I said, well, shit, my music isn't going to get me a girl. So I might as well figure out another way. So I got back on the dating apps, just no luck. To be fair, I didn't have probably the greatest photos. I was doing like the selfies and shit like that. Is number one rule not to do on dating apps. I didn't have a good Instagram, but then yeah, I just remember like I'm like I gotta just try this. And when I got a coach, I'd been doing approaching for a little bit on my own, but I just realized like I would do a few a week, and I realized that's not going to be enough. Like so, I hired Trip Advice, if you know who he is,
Yeah, yeah.
Trip Kramer.
Mhm.
Great guy. Yeah, we've gotten to do a couple podcasts together, and really nice guy. So he was my coach, and it was a lot of money. Like I took out a credit card for it. I didn't have the money. It was quite expensive at the time. And but what he did, he gave me the accountability to do it. Just to I paid him the money. I'm like, fuck, I got to do this. And the big thing he did for me, and this is what we do with our clients as well now, is we record the approaches for them. So we have these little mics. You might have seen them. They're just like magnets. But for me, I just had a pair of headphones like you did, put it over my neck like I was coming back from the gym, and I would record every approach. And then I listened back, and dude, I remember the first one, I was just like, fuck, I don't want to listen to this. But what I noticed was I didn't sound that bad. I noticed she was actually, there's inflections of joy in her voice when she was talking to me. And it made me realize, oh, maybe I'm not as bad at this as I think I am. Because in the moment you're nervous, so you feel like a freaking idiot. But then listening back, I'm like, oh, that sounded like a normal conversation. Great. So that was kind of, yeah, why I decided to get a coach for that accountability.
Yeah, there's a ton of I think having like trust in yourself of like, okay, I'm a normal human. I know how to talk to people. That was one of the
Yeah.
biggest things when I was helping guys with this was
Okay.
guys would be like, I just don't know what to say. Like I don't know how to. And I'm like, dude, yeah, you do. Like you know how to talk. You're talking to me right
Mm,
now. We're having a normal
yeah.
conversation. It's just that you're like getting in the way. So
Right.
I think having that trust in yourself, that's like, I know how to talk to people. And I think hearing that back for you was like, oh, this is a normal conversation. She's actually enjoying some of this. Like it's
Totally.
not when you're in the moment and you're in your head, everything looks like
A
something went terribly
disaster.
wrong. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, she didn't laugh when I said that joke. She hates me. She thinks I'm crazy. Like she wants me to get out of here.
Right.
But yeah, that's
Until
a
she says, I have to go, like she's there. Right.
yeah.
And what
Yeah.
we tell guys too, it's like it's not approach anxiety. It's not talking. Like once you start talking, most guys realize they're fine. But it's that approach anxiety that's the most scary part. So that was a yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, that's
Definitely
why
trust.
things like mixers and like dating events are so popular because it kind of takes that out of
Oh,
it. It's like
totally.
you can just be, or dating apps. Dating apps are just a shelter of, okay, you don't have to do the approach yourself. You don't have to face the
Yes.
rejection. But
Yes.
if you can go out and do it yourself, it's like you just like automatically put yourself ahead.
Automatically, bro. And like if guys you're watching this and you're like, man, I don't want to go. It's such a lost art. Like in the past, that's what everyone did. But now, because of like you just said, social media, dating apps, all these events, people don't really need to expose themselves. So you automatically, like you said, put yourself in a higher, I don't and not in like an egoic way, but just you stand out. And every girl, like no girl I've approached has not respected me for approaching her. They've not like, oh, this like nasty guy approached me, like, what's wrong with him? Now, some places, if you go like very liberal, like United States and maybe the UK, you might get that. But in general, like people will respect you for it. Like girls know what's going on. They're not idiots. They know that like it's a hard thing to do. Like so, I think doing it, it built me so much more than just approaching and with women. It just built my like realization that I can go anywhere in the world and create connection with people.
Yeah, it
Unlocks a
does.
super freedom.
It opens up the world in a way. It's like
Absolutely.
a friend of mine, one day we were out and we were recording approaches for
Mm,
Instagram or something. We were
okay.
gonna make a video, and it was just like a super fun day at the Domain here in Austin. It's just like a big outdoor mall area, and we're like
Nice.
running around. Like there's one where I like ran across the street just to do an approach, and he was recording. And then afterward, he talked about it, and he was like, "Dude, that felt like GTA. It was like just the freedom of like realizing you can just do this, and like it's kind of it translates to real life too, which is like we live in these kind of patterns of ways of being, and sometimes when you break out you're like, holy shit, I can do like so many things that I just didn't realize are like options. And I think approaching
Yes.
is one of those things that just like opens up the world.
Couldn't agree more. Perfectly said, man. It's just it really is a superpower if you can start to hone into it.
Yeah. Yeah, so what's been your experience going through that yourself and then coming out on the other side and helping other men with that?
Yeah, it's been, just a blessing. It's just a blessing. I think my mentor, I got a mentor through a recovery program for work addiction. And he had done like 4,000 approaches. Plus, he had done the whole Thailand thing, the Poland thing. So he had a wife. He was like starting to settle down. And he was older. So he was like 49. He's like 48 now, 48 or 49 now. So when we met, he was like 45, 46. And so he really kind of, we talked probably now we talk maybe a couple times a month, but at that time we were talking like once a week. And he just kind of kept pushing me to go. And he didn't say, he's like, because there was many times I'm like, I don't want to keep doing this. Like this is a drag. But he just said like one day this will pay off in a way you can't even imagine. And I'm like, you know what? All right, I'm gonna keep going with this. So coming out the other side now and getting to coach guys and I guess consult guys on how to do it. So I live in Mexico City. So we actually go out in person. I take clients out and we go talk to women in person and we show them the scripts, record them, all that stuff, right? So that's part of our program, and it's just so rewarding. It just, I think, like, I'm not gonna pretend I'm Mr. Altruistic. I don't think anybody is. I get a lot of it out of it myself. Like I get paid to go approach myself pretty much. And just seeing the guys get to make progress is really really cool, and it's very gratifying to be able to tell the guys the mistakes I made when I was starting out my approaching and have them correct those right away and then get results very quickly. because there was a couple of things I was doing in my approaching that was hindering my results. And it took about 700 approaches for myself to realize the mistake I was making. I'll share it here right now because I think it's an absolute game changer. And I learned it in Poland. So I went to Poland and I met the guys. I don't know if you know, like John Matrix. They actually own the domain daygame.com. So they're like kind of some of the OGs. And I got connected with one of their guys that they live with slash coaches was named Tim. Tim Robinson. He had like a fitness coaching business, but we became really good friends and we'd go out together. And I just watched him and how he approached, and he was just so good at it. Like every girl was just captivated by him. And it was weird though. He would come back and be like, dude, I was so nervous. And I'm like, what? Like, dude, like are you kidding me? Like you approached the hottest bird in Poland and she just like gave you her number and like you talked for 10 minutes. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh yeah, I don't know how. But what he showed me was that my biggest mistake was I was asking too many questions. And what he taught me was the power of assumptions, making assumptions. So he would go up to a girl and instead of like, hey, where are you from? Hey, what are you doing here? Are you from Poland or are you Polish? Right. I noticed you. You have a very strong spiritual energy about you. You're Polish, obviously. Right. So he would start just making inferences about her. And they didn't even have to be right. But the fact that he was doing that it just went from a boring platonic relation or conversation to flirting. So this is one of the biggest things I teach guys is the power of making assumptions. Don't be asking the questions because it gets into interview mode. Start pointing out things about her because what's the number one thing girls like to talk about? Asking you there, Will.
What do girls like to talk about? I feel like you're leading me to say themselves. Is that where I'm
Boom.
going? Okay.
Exactly. So if you can expedite that process, man, she's just gonna be like, it really shows like taking a strong leadership, right?
Mhm.
Like it's really leading the conversation fully, right? So coming full circle here, he taught me that, and I remember the day I started doing it. I would get a number here or there, and it probably never really led to anything. I got like 5 numbers in like one session from like really hot Polish girls. I just went like, what is this superpower I've unlocked? And all it was just instead of asking boring ass questions, start pointing things out about her. Oh, you seem very fit. You must be a gym girl, something like that. Oh, you're not from around here. And that's the beauty of it. You don't have to be right. So they can be like, no, I actually am. And you're like, no, get out of here. You have more, man, you have Ukrainian vibes or something like that, right? Just making it fun and light and making it about them, but not in a needy way. And that's the difference between asking questions and making assumptions. Asking questions, there's a taking energy to it. Oh, where are you from? Like, I want to learn about you. But with assumptions, it's giving your energy to give them an experience. And that's when everything changed for me in dating. So that's what we teach guys. A big part of our coaching here in Mexico City. Yeah, just seeing them get results. Like some of our guys get girlfriends very quickly. They're getting lots of dates right away, and they've really never done much approaching before. So it's a very simple process if you do it right. And I think that's what's been super rewarding and fulfilling about it.
Yeah, that taking versus giving, that was always a big change because I totally know what you mean with the asking questions, just repeatedly asking questions. It's like you're almost
Yes.
like begging them to like join you in this conversation rather than like
Totally.
putting yeah, just speaking in statements, assumptions, like you said.
Yep. Yep.
It's like it's just like taking up your side of the conversation and then letting her take up hers and not like trying to pull her into it.
Ooh, beautifully said.
So okay, let's talk about addiction, recovery, all of that. So you mentioned
Yep.
weed and you mentioned drinking as well. Was that hard for you to get sober from alcohol?
It really wasn't. I partied hard. Like we both went to UW, and it's one of the top party schools in the nation. And we were in our floor actually freshman year was the number one, the written up floor that year for, drinking violations. So we were quite proud of it. I never really enjoyed alcohol as much as I did weed. So when I quit weed and alcohol at the same time. And this is what I suggest recovery clients to do. It's called the 2-for-1, the 2-for-1 special. So if you have a couple of addictions, like quit the hardest one, of course, and then quit a lesser one because you'll kind of forget about the lesser one because you'll be so focused on the hard one. And then by the time you quit the hard one, you've gotten 2 out of the way and you're just like, oh,
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, done.
2-for-1. I did that. This is kind of similar. I had a really bad ear infection last summer,
Oh, ouch.
and it was so painful that I quit caffeine at the same time because like
Okay.
just didn't notice the headaches or anything because I was in so much pain.
Oh,
So kind of
wow.
similar.
That's awesome. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's a secret, guys. Get an ear infection. You
Yeah.
quit caffeine. How do you
Yeah.
feel now that you're off caffeine? Because that's a pretty common addiction.
Yeah, dude, that's like
A lot of people.
90% of people are addicted to caffeine. It feels good. It used to be like just definitely a dependency. Like I quit for a month, maybe like 2 months last year. And then one day I was I went to breakfast and I was like, a
Mm,
cup of coffee would be so nice today. And so I had a cup of
okay.
coffee. I think I had 2 cups of coffee. I went home and just like worked like a motherfucker. Like I was just like turned on.
Okay.
And so
Nice.
I was like, that was awesome. Then the next morning I was like, I kind of would like to get a lot of work done today. So then I had a cup of coffee. And then every day after that, I just kept drinking coffee. So that's where I
Mm,
realized like it's kind of out of control. Like I can't exactly just not have coffee and be okay with it. And so
mm,
that's where I decided like I think I want to quit. And then it just took a while
okay.
before I got the motivation to actually do it.
And those ones are the hardest because they actually like add value to your life.
Yeah, they
Same with
add
like
value
gambling addiction or anything that gives you something
and they're
like in
like
return.
socially accepted. Like it's
Yep,
normal
for
to drink
sure.
coffee.
For sure. One of my open, like whenever I, set up a date, I say, you a coffee or tea girl? Everyone, coffee, 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 coffee. Like, oh, I'm into tea. And they're like, why didn't you coffee? I'm like, oh, I couldn't sleep. That's that's always nice. But when I quit coffee, or I quit caffeine, drinking caffeine, and I was like clean for a year, and I was like, oh, sick, like I'm you're sober. But I didn't realize I couldn't, like, I was staying up really late. And what I was doing, I was eating like a giant tray of like keto dark chocolate brownies before bed every night. And if you didn't know, dark chocolate has caffeine in it, or
Yeah.
chocolate in general. So I was crushing chocolate every day. It's like, so I really wasn't clean from caffeine. And then I quit chocolate and now I'm actually
Now
off
you're
caffeine.
fully clean. Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. I think one other thing with caffeine was it let me kind of like hide from like if I didn't sleep well. Like I could just like if I didn't
Mm,
sleep well, I could just have coffee and I'd be fine. And so it took
yeah.
pressure off of like, okay, I should actually put emphasis on how I'm sleeping and like try to get good sleep because caffeine just let me kind of band-aid over that.
I tell you, your sleep's a lot better now that you're off caffeine. You get regular
Um,
sleep cycles and stuff.
yeah, I can sleep regularly.
Nice.
For sure.
Nice.
Yeah. So are you like fully clean off of basically everything then?
Pretty much besides sugar. I'll have sugar a cheat meal once or twice a week, and
Okay.
I'm actively working on that one. I like to go like 2 weeks at a time without, and then have a cheat day and then get back. But sugar's very tough. Sugar's very, like, if you're social, you go to a restaurant, dates and stuff like that. So, and then probably like watching YouTube and TV is my other addiction,
Yeah, for sure.
present one.
That's
Yeah,
mine.
bro.
That's a hard one.
But everything else, yeah, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, so what was weed to you? Like what'd you like about it?
It's good. It's been so long now. I haven't thought about that question in a while. It gave me happiness. It gave me happiness when my everything I wanted in life was not there. Money, relationships, confidence, women, didn't have any of that. And so weed was that thing that made me feel like I was okay and like life was good. There's probably, yeah, it was my relationship. Was selling it. So it gave me some money. I think, and it's funny, like when people look at addiction, and if anyone watching has had an addiction, you look back, a lot of times it wasn't the actual act itself. It was, or the substance itself. It was the ritual behind it. The waking up and, busting up the weed and putting it in a grinder and then grinding it up and packing the bowl. That was almost like the anticipation of smoking was more pleasant than smoking.
Mhm.
And or same with caffeine, like maybe like roasting the coffee beans and like hearing the drip of the coffee going to your cup, like that's what is exciting. And you take it and you're just like, okay, no, I just drank coffee. So it really was. And we people were, I mean, we were humans, so we're people of habit. So instead of having positive habits like going to the gym, working on a business, anything like that, it was smoking weed. Like that was the ritual that gave me a purpose, so it felt.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the rituals are what get yeah, like I would stopping for like an energy drink on my way somewhere. That was always like the
Yeah.
best. Like going into
Well,
like a 7-Eleven and yeah.
were you a Monster or a Red Bull?
Oh, neither. I would do like either Celsius was good. I would do the
Ah, okay.
C4 like 300 milligram ones.
Dangerous, bro. Do you ever take
That
the
shit was
C4
good.
pre-workout?
I don't think I did. I never
Okay,
really got into
bro.
pre-workout.
Okay. That was a shit back in like 2008 to 2012. Like
Okay.
that shit, like it made like your like body shake and like
Yeah.
you got like a tingle.
Yeah, pre-workout is crazy because especially if you work out like at night, having caffeine that
Oh,
late
dude, that's
is yeah.
crazy.
But yeah, definitely going. Another thing with caffeine, funny, like I used to do like 2 cups of coffee max. Like I was on
Okay.
top of that at least.
Okay.
But I knew if I had a bang energy,
Ooh, okay.
it would be a good day. Like that was like a weird thing in my head where I was like, I can't
Interesting.
do this too much because I know if I do it too much, then it will lose its potency. But if I
Um,
ever need it, like I know I'll have a good day if I have a bang.
and it was because what? There was so much caffeine in it.
There's a lot,
Took
yeah.
it.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Wow.
caffeine. So that would just like,
Okay.
yeah, light me up. I think I would do those on
That's fun.
Fridays Fridays I would have a bang.
Man, I've never heard that before.
Yeah,
But I can, yeah, that
that shit was
makes sense.
good.
They had a lot of flavors, I remember. I never had any,
Yeah,
but
they
I
had a
know there was
lot of
like
flavors. They were like these
a lot of
crazy
flavors.
like candy flavors.
Get
They're pretty
triggered,
good.
bro. Get triggered.
Yeah, okay. So weed was more about the ritual, it sounds like then. And how did you replace did you like replace it with something? Was it like now I go to the gym instead of smoking in the morning, or what was that like?
Yeah, I think you kind of just naturally do that. Like, because what you realize when you quit an addiction is how much time you have left.
Mm,
Like, oh wow, I've like I just quit a gambling addiction, for example, and I was playing poker for fucking 6 hours a night. And then you just, oh, I have 6 hours a night left. Back to my schedule. Wow.
mhm.
So yeah, for me, it was I got robbed like 10K, and that was kind of my wake up point that I need to change. But I still kept smoking, and then I got in trouble with the police a little bit, and that was my like big awakening. So I just remember, yeah, just like I remember growing up, I was like, when I'm 20 years old, like I never thought into the future, but I was like, when I'm 20, I'm gonna be so successful and have a big house. It's very unrealistic. I was 22, and I'm like, fuck. So I kind of went, yo, like I remember thinking that at like 10 years old, like at 20, I'm gonna be a millionaire or whatever. So I'm like, well, 10 years just went by and I'm not a millionaire. So, but that kind of woke me up to the fact that 10 more years is gonna go by.
Mhm.
Whether I'm sober, whether I'm stoned, doesn't matter. 10 years is gonna go by. So I might as well do all the things that I know I should be doing. And then maybe in 10 years I'll be where I wish I would have been right now. So I got my health in check. I started eating really healthy. I went vegan, which I don't recommend actually, but cleaning up the diet. I went hard vegan. Like I said, stopped drinking, stopped watching porn, stopped every bad behavior I thought like I knew at that time was a bad behavior. I stopped. I started meditating every day, getting into spirituality, exercising a ton, which I was always active, but I was less active obviously when I was on weed. So for me, it wasn't so much like I got to replace this thing for this thing. It was almost like I just did it because I knew it was the only way I could survive and like not have my life be like shit. So there's a lot of fear around my decisions, which I think fear can be a great motivator. To be honest, like people want to be like, I want to quit when I'm inspired and I feel like my life's just gonna go like this forever. But that never comes. Like you got to face some shit when you quit, and you have to face that uncertainty and that doubt. Yeah, use that as a motivator is what I would say. Use that to fuel you to do the healthy habits. Obviously, everybody knows the healthy things they got to be doing. Like it's not rocket science. Eat healthy, work out. It's simple but not easy, as they say in the recovery. So yeah, that was kind of what my process of quitting was.
Yeah,
Exactly what you said, but just worded differently.
that's one of the goals of this podcast is like answering that question. Why do we all know what we need to be doing, but very few of us are actually doing those things. But it's exactly that. It's difficult. It's not so easy as just knowing what to do, but actually
Yeah.
doing them is different. You sparked something in my mind, but I don't remember what it was now.
You need some caffeine to remember.
I need some caffeine, yeah. Get a little sharper. What's your gym routine like now, or your
Yeah, I think
exercise total?
yeah, so I'm a ectomorph or whatever one is like the skinny guy. So I've been working out since I was 14. I'm 30 now. And it's really hard for me to put on size. And like I
Mhm.
work out properly, like I do proper power lifts and stuff like that. So for me to gain a lot of weight, I have to eat a lot, 6,000 calories freaking a day, which is not feasible. So for me, I'm just maintaining. I go for the mental health side of things. I go to look good too. Like I like to have a built physique. It helps with dating, of course, having a fit body. And right now, I do intuitive. I just go. I do whatever I want. Like
Mm,
I started doing that like a few months ago, and I'm really enjoying it. Like if I want to do fucking pull downs, I'll do pull downs. If I want to all of a sudden do tricep dips, like do you know what I mean? Like so
yeah.
before I
Yeah.
was very like when I came to Mexico City in October 2023, my roommate, who you'll see on the podcast coming up, really, really jacked up, like basically a piece of muscle. And so he started training me and I started getting on TRT. I started only TRT. So none of that like gear, nothing like that. No trend, mastodon, none of that. Just like a normal, like a half bodybuilder dose of TRT. Now I'm on like a very small dose, like a fourth of that even just for maintenance.
Mhm.
Because I do feel a lot better being on test. But with basically, I put on 20 pounds in like 2 months, and I was doing one body part a day, 5 days a week, and then cardio. So that was kind of like,
Like a bodybuilder split.
okay, that's what that is.
I think so, yeah. Doing like
Okay,
really
nice.
focused one per day. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and that's exactly what it was. Yeah, got
Yeah,
swole,
yeah. I
so
definitely have gone through
sweet.
phases as well. I've gone through
Okay,
phases
yeah,
where I'm like doing some like push pull legs. That was mine for
yep,
like 2 years. And then I went through something similar where I was just like, how about I make the gym fun again? Because I kind of got
yeah,
burnt out
yeah,
on like I have to do this today. So then I started just doing
sure.
like I have this one called dessert, which is just
Oh,
biceps. Like at the end of every workout, I have dessert, and that's biceps.
nice. That's sweet. I love that.
But yeah, just doing whatever feels good that day, whatever I like, I'm excited to do. Because I think if you're not like a competitive bodybuilder, like as long as you just hit everything at some point, like you're gonna be good. You don't need to like
Yes.
optimize everything.
Dude, like, I mean, I think most guys do it for girls, at least to start. But
Mhm.
you realize like girls don't notice if you're 2 kilos up or 2 kilos down. Like
Yeah,
they don't give like they don't care.
totally. That's so true. Like you can just if you just have muscle or you're just fit, like that's just they're just like, oh, it's a fit guy. They're not like
Yep.
analyzing your body weight percentage or any of that.
Last guy I was with, my hand filled up 1/4 of his chest, and yours is only one half. Like, what kind of pussy are you?
You must be. Yeah, I'm kind of at a turning point right now. So I just did a half marathon 2 weeks ago, and then I had a jujitsu tournament last weekend,
Oh,
a
sick.
week and a half ago.
Cool.
And so I was preparing for those. And so I was running a lot, doing a lot of jujitsu, but not lifting a lot. And so now I'm
Mm,
getting back into like I'm just at a point where I'm like, okay, what do I want my like life to look like? Do I want to
mm,
go to the gym every day? Do I want to like change things up a little bit? So
sure.
I'm in that
Where are you at with that? What's your
experimental. I think I want to start going back to the gym. So I'm going to pick a new gym because right now I'm gym
mm,
homeless.
mm.
So I will, I'll probably, what I want to do is I want to do a couple different things. I want to like do powerlifting. I want to do bodybuilding and then also calisthenics. So I want to
Okay.
just change things up, do like something, powerlifting twice a week, calisthenics twice a week, something like that, where I'm just
Cool.
exploring new things, like getting good at things that I have never been good at before, that kind of stuff.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, running's a tough one. I mean, how'd your marathon go? What was your
It was good. It was my fastest time for a half ever. I did like a 1:42, which is like a
cool?
7-minute 45 pace. It's also a really good course because
Oh, nice.
it's
It's
here in
just flat.
Austin. It's downhill. So it's one
Oh, wow.
way. It's a one
Oh, wow.
way, not a
Interesting.
loop, and it's majority downhill. So
Okay.
it's pretty quick.
Cool. I bet, yeah, training for that's not like I ran cross country and track in high school. So I know how you have to train for those. Like you ain't building muscle, bro, if you running 10, 12 miles a day.
Yeah.
Like not happening. So no more.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed a change over that period. Just I wasn't lifting as much. I was running. Like my
Yeah.
body just naturally changed. So
How did it change? I'm curious. Like I take it you maybe slim like did you lean out? Did you notice? Like
I didn't. I think it's honestly like just the worst change possible. It was like I
oh
didn't
fuck.
lose I didn't lose weight. I just lost muscle. So
Oh man. So you became kind of doughy.
yes,
Like
exactly.
almost put it. Yeah, dude.
Uh,
Runner body when people that run are always have like kind of like puffy bodies.
yeah, you have this
Weird.
like little like belly store of energy.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good.
Yeah. It like you think they're gonna be like super toned, but they're like kind of they're like squishy.
Yeah. Yep. So that's the other thing. I'm gonna be recovering from that over the next
Nah,
couple months. Yeah.
that
Okay.
sounds
So
good.
what's something right now for you that you're struggling with?
What am I struggling? Good question. I think, yeah, let's think. I think building wealth is something that I'm still in the process of doing. So that's a thing. My latest struggle had been kind of starting to date the women I want that are going to be healthy and compatible for me. Because my thing in the past was I would take girls seriously and ignore their red flags,
Mm,
especially ones that are very like, not like I'm sober. So like, oh, she would party and drink and smoke, and I'd be like, yeah, cool, let's be my girlfriend, which doesn't make sense. And she knew that too. Really kind of my like I was doing a lot of approaching, and I think it's really good for a guy to do that when they're starting. And now I'm being very more specific. I'm not approaching every day. I'm not doing the spam approaching. I'm really kind of only going for the girls that if someone was like, hey, you have to fucking marry this girl right now, I'd be like, okay. Not the worst thing I could do, right? So that's been an experience in itself too, because I'm finding way less options. Obviously, this week's gonna be a good one. I have a few dates this week. I've got one today, this afternoon, and then one tomorrow, and then one Saturday. But I know specifically like one or two of them probably aren't going to be long term. It's still good to get the experience, right? And get around some feminine energy because what we find sometimes happens with guys is they hang around the boys too much and they become a little too like, ape like,
mhm.
or they hang around chicks too much and they become basically like a chick that's a dude. So you got to find that balance. I think, I really like this question because I actually got to think about this. My biggest struggle, I just quit a gambling addiction, probably getting back on track with my food, as in getting to that 2 week, 10 day 2 week mark without sugar, really stopping watching YouTube at night or even listening to podcasts and really kind of becoming clear-headed again, because that's when my dating was the best, when I wasn't watching TV, when I wasn't eating sugar, when I was just alive, I was a human being. And I know there's last night I was drinking this like grapefruit juice that I thought didn't have sugar in it, but it did. So yesterday I'm like, fuck, and so I had a really big cheat meal last night, and like, kind of I feel okay. I've been doing this thing where in the morning I'll drink, I blend up celery, spirulina, and ginger, and then lettuce, and just pound it. It's disgusting, but it's really helped with like my focus, my staying calm. I was getting bloody gums because I wasn't having enough vitamin C, so that's gone away. So just kind of like any little biohacks, start taking like mushroom supplements like lion's mane, reishi, all those like those mushroom blends that are really helping with cognitive function. That's what I would say. Yeah, getting back on track with just clear my sobriety so I can have the dating life I really want.
Yeah, dude. Speaking of gambling, I went on a cruise last weekend with my girlfriend, and there was a like casino in one of the floors of the cruise, and we didn't go the first 3 nights, thank God. On the fourth night, we finally went.
Okay.
And I brought $20 and I was like, this is all we're playing with. And so it actually went really well. It was like optimal.
Oh, okay.
So we won first we like doubled it on one of the machines. We got $40 and then we doubled it again. We had $80. And then I think then we got to like 120 or something. And that's where I was like, okay, one sec. And we go cash it out, and then I give her 20. I'm like, we're playing with this now. And so we like started fresh. So I took the 100 out, I put it away. I was like, we're not playing with this. And then we ended up with like $140. So it was definitely a big success, 20 to 140. But then I realized like I could totally feel the pull of like, oh, we should do that more. That was so good. Like,
that was so easy.
If I ever need money, I could just do that. And so that was a tough one to like come off of that and like just be like, okay, that's over. That's it. We're not doing that anymore. I definitely felt that. Another time I played poker with some friends and we played with like $10 each. So it was maybe like, I think it was only 4 of us. So it was $40. And I ended up winning in the end. We were being so stupid. At the end, we were just like, okay, everyone just go all in and like, we'll play until like one person's left. And I ended up just luckily being the last one. And so I had like $40 I left. And then I realized in my brain, like I keep having these thoughts of like, you need to figure out how to do this more. Like you can make more money. You just made $40 out of $10. And like, I totally can see where that like gambling pull comes from.
Great catch, brother. Great catch for catching it. Cause that's exactly the path that gets led now, like verbatim to the T. Poker was my big thing. And I started playing last year. I hadn't gambled in like years. And then I just was like, it was like a $1 buy-in poker game at like some international night. And I'm like, oh, sweet. I remember this game. This is fun. And I fucking like rivered or flopped a full house. So I was like, oh, I forgot I was like good at this. And then we started playing every week, once a week. And in the last like 3 months, it went from like playing, it went to like twice a week. We have a group that we would play with. And I started winning. Like I won 7 nights in a row. And at one night, I remember I went to this higher stakes game, and that's when I knew it was getting dangerous. And at one point, I was down $600. Buy-in was like $50, and I was down $600. And I just went, dude, like what did I? But I came back and I won like $300. So I won all that money. You know what I mean? So it's just like, oh yeah, I'm fucking good at this. I started studying it. So to your point, don't study it. The better you get at poker, the worse you get at poker. You always get beat by that fucker who you have pocket aces and they have like 7-6 or offsuit, and then they fucking flop a straight, right? So like you just can't win the game. And I'll be honest, like I'm very new out of this addiction. So last week, actually, I quit 3 days ago was my last gamble. I'm in the gambler support group. Put 2 and 2 together, you know what it is. And last week I played poker like every night. I went to this casino. I was playing these tournaments. I was getting to almost the final table, which was where you get paid out, but I just missed it over and over again. And thankfully in Mexico, like it's not high stakes. So I was spending maybe $50-$75 a night. But I'm like, wow, I could have done a lot more with that $75 a night. And I was spending 6 to 10 hours playing. Do you know what I mean? So just, I had the awakening that I have to stop gambling, which means no more crypto investments, which means no more watching carb rips on, Instagram or something like that. And I'm really like fresh into it of just being like, okay, no more gambling, right? I can't. Just like with any like an alcohol addiction, you can't take one drink. The minute you take that drink, you're hooked again. And last night I had a great time. Like I went out with a client who's becoming a good buddy too. Our clients are always the coolest people. Like they become like our mates basically. And we just hung out like for the whole night. We went approaching, we got dinner, we were just chatting. I'm like, dude, this is life. Like, this is what life is about. Not sitting at a poker table trying to win $60. So I'm free now. But yeah, that's exactly what happened. I started studying poker. I was like, okay, I know all the good hands. I was playing properly by the rules to win. Like this is how you win hands. You only play these hands. of course, I go in on pocket kings and I get beat by fucking an ace three offsuit, which is like the worst. You never play ace three offsuit, but I played it. You know what I mean? But some guys like, I don't care, I'll play ace three, and then pulls an ace. And I'm just like, so you just can't win. You just can't
Yeah.
win the game.
Yeah. And there's
And
also no like, there's no end to that. It's like you get good at poker. Now what?
no,
Now you're just gambling more. You're spending more time on it.
exactly.
There's no end to it.
And bro, the people like that really get into addiction. Like I'm addicted to to gambling, but I didn't face the real consequences. People lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. They start stealing, they start embezzling, they lose their families, they get in trouble with, bad people that they shouldn't be, that they're borrowing money from. Like it gets terrifying.
Mhm.
So let's commit right now. This is our moment. We're not going down that path.
Nope. Not doing
God
it.
forbid, dude. It's easy money too. And when you win, you feel like it's like that's the problem. Like, let's say, Will, you started playing regularly and you started to win, you just be like, I want to win more. It would never be enough.
Hmm. Hmm.
Never be enough.
And then yeah, there was also a feeling of like that somehow we were good. We were doing like the machines, the slot machines, and we're like, I was like, somehow we're good at this. Like, yeah, me and my girl are just like really good. We got to keep playing because we figured this
Sure.
out. And we're literally just pressing a button. There's no being good at this.
We're so good at pressing this button. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit. No one presses this button as good as me and my girl. Yeah.
And then this dude was there, this older guy. We go over and we're like, oh, we should try this machine. And then there's this guy next to us who's like looking around, and then we see, oh, he just won like a $5,000 jackpot, and he's waiting for someone to come
Mm,
over and pay him out.
okay.
And then his wife is like, oh, if you guys would have just been here a few minutes earlier, would have been you.
Oh,
And then that's in your brain of like, oh, what if that happened?
yes. Dude, that's the worst. Damn. Good thing you didn't though, because then you'd be like, yeah, I get a text from you this morning, like, hey, bro, I gotta cancel the pod. I'm on to something.
I figured something out. Yeah. Is it legal in Mexico, gambling?
Like it isn't like so they it's funny like they don't report the casinos like as casinos, but they call them like the name is casino in the name,
Right. But
but
it's
they like found a legal way around so they don't have to.
yeah, they have some kind of like card like poker rooms in Texas. I don't know how like the
I
laws
think that's
work.
what they call them, poker rooms.
Yeah.
Like or like they're not recreational but like entertainment rooms or something like that.
Mm,
That's what they
yeah.
call them legally, so they can get away with it. What I did was I played my last game on Sunday night and I banned myself from the casino, which you can do at any casino. It's required. So they took a video of me, I gave them my ID, and I said, hey, don't let me come back. And now I can never go back there.
That's cool.
And
I didn't
so
know you could do that.
yeah, they were so like, they were so bummed when I said it. They're like, why? I'm like, I just keep giving you guys money. And they're like, we don't get it. I'm like,
Yeah. It's like, yeah, of course you don't get it. You're
yeah.
like benefiting from this relationship.
And
I'm
I
just
remember I
giving
talked to a
you.
bunch of people like, no, you don't need to do that. And I finally found like one guy that spoke English that was cool. He was like a poker guy. And we actually like, we're buddies. Like we had, he was dealing. He's like, yeah, you legally can do this. So he like actually helped me get it done. But
That's cool. That kind of commitment is cool that you can do that. If only you could do that with other stuff. Like ban yourself from like a liquor store or
maybe you can like have your credit card, like not like ban your credit card from being used or, you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, there are definitely ways to add like friction
Yeah.
around like addictions. Because
Hmm.
like obviously you
For
could
sure.
still play poker. You could find another place. The fact that you can't go to this one, which is probably what
It's
the like
huge.
habit and pattern was around this particular location.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, Joel, what does your dream life look like?
Man, I think I'm at least living it. Like I think my dream life just keeps evolving, Like right now I'm making my own money online, coaching guys, like I don't have a job, really do whatever I want. I think for me it would be the next step is really getting my wealth like established. Like I'm straight because then I know I'll be in a place to take care of a family. So I guess yeah, that's my dream life. Be able to like spend maybe 5-10 years traveling the world with a girl I really like, going to all like the hot spots. Got to go to Italy still. Got to go check out Dubai, and then be at that place where I'm like, okay, let's get a house, have kids, find somewhere really great to live, and just start. Yeah, just keep working on myself. That's about it. What about you?
My dream life, definitely similar. I'd love to be financially in a place where I just don't need to have a job and I can just basically focus. Like it's not that I don't want to work, but I want to have a lot of freedom over choosing what I work on, and not have like a requirement of what I'm working on be that it is making me money directly. So like this podcast is an example. It's not making me money. It's funny when you mentioned monetary purposes earlier. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not making money on this.
I was like, if you're
Uh,
on a YouTube channel, like you say that word, like they'll
right.
demonetize
They'll
your video.
demonetize.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah, yeah.
that's
You
that's
you
not
won't
a
get your 3 cents.
not a concern here. Yeah. So just having the freedom to like invest myself fully into stuff that I just want to work on, and
Nice.
things that I think will have a greater impact that goes beyond like right now it's going to make me money, but it's more like building something bigger. Outside of that, having a family is definitely on the list. I would love to, be married and have a bunch of kids. However, I would say like however many my future wife is willing to have, that's how many. Like I'm gonna keep pumping them out as long as she's willing.
Okay. And you want to get married? Is that
Mhm.
sounds like something that it's important to you?
Yeah, definitely. I would like to have a lot of space. So I have a dog. I think you probably have seen her in the background there.
Oh
Um,
yeah. I thought that was a pillow.
I do. She has a pillow over here. But yeah, I would like to have a lot of space. And I would like to have friends. My like ideal situation would be like a big property where like there's like multiple houses and like I have like my best friends like, on the property, but just like far
Cool.
enough away that we see each other regularly. But yeah. Yeah, I think those are the big components of it.
I think freedom. I think probably most people watching this podcast just want the freedom to live a life they want.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, not be stuck in I think a lot of people are stuck in jobs they don't like. They're stuck in like financial situations they hate or relationships they don't like.
yeah.
And I think freedom's a big thing that a lot of us want.
And remember, I think we got to remember too that we do have like to remember the freedoms you have now.
Yes,
Because
certainly.
it can be very easy to be like, I still struggle with this, what I don't have. And I'm like, dude, it's like freaking February and it's 70 degrees out. Dude,
Crazy.
crazy.
For a Wisconsin boy, that's crazy.
Crazy, bro. Yeah, fuck Wisconsin. Fuck
Yeah, there's so much that we have,
Wisconsin.
especially in the modern world. It's like we're not worried about, starving tomorrow. Even if we don't have
Yeah.
money, we're not going to starve. We're not going to die of
No.
we have a place to live, all this stuff. There's a
Yeah.
lot that gets taken for granted. All right, Jolie, tell everyone where they can find out more about you.
Yeah. So you guys can hit me up on our YouTube channel, Max Pat Dating. So, like I said earlier, I have two guys. We have a business together, two other guys, and we help guys, expats, digital nomads, remote workers, retirees, start to build their dating life. And we encourage guys to potentially come down to Mexico City because it's a great, especially if you're a Western guy or anywhere in Europe, like they really, you find that what I found is that I had a lot of way easier than I did back in the States. So we help guys with that cold approach, online dating, building their social circle, all that stuff. So Expat Dating, we post regular videos and give you guys some dating tips. And then if you are struggling with addiction, Sobriety University on YouTube as well. And I talk about quitting all kinds of addictions. Weed's been mostly my topic, but I'm focusing more on just talking about addiction as a whole. And then for consulting, you can hit me up at my email, which you'll see in the links in my YouTube channel, and then or schedule a call with us at mexpatdating.com. And we'd be happy to see if we can support you in your dating journey in any way, or lead you to a resource that might be better for you. And yeah, that's the plug.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, likewise.